We've got our global business update with Rotus Oddiri. Rotus, great to have you. How's it going?
Good morning, Rufai. Good morning. Good morning to our compliments of the season. You're messing with me. Good morning. We start with a thin trading week this week. Not much to expect because of this is our last trading week of 2024. So you've got the Chicago Fed National Activity Index. That's just an index that just looks at broad economic measures. Later today, you've got U.S. new home sales tomorrow, looking at the mortgage market. Then the U.S. markets will close at 1 p.m. Wednesday, of course, is Christmas Day, so the markets are closed. Even on Boxing Day, I think the European markets are closed as well. Thursday, we get an interest rate decision from over in Turkey from the Reserve Bank there. Interest rates, I think the benchmark rate is at 50% or so. Friday, the Dallas Fed looks at the economy of Texas, and they also get the manufacturing numbers. They also get, I think, U.S. jobless claims as well. So it's a thin, very, very thin trading week. From there, we move to, I think, Nissan and Foxtel, excuse me. I need to get to this before I get to Nissan. So News Corp, owned by, of course, Mr. Murdoch, over in Australia, is selling Foxtel, which is a paid subscriber cable network, over to DAZN. DAZN is in the UK. They stream a lot of sports. And the deal is for, I think it's 3-point-something billion Australian dollars, which comes to 2.1 billion US dollars. Just to put this in context, Canal Plus, when they made an offer for multi-choice, for the entire multi-choice plus DSTV plus everything was 2.5 billion euros is what their offer was. This is just the equivalent of DSTV going for 2.1 billion. And I remember when before I was talking about Canal and everything last week, the value of media services, so traditional media services. So it's a pretty big deal. It's still subject to regulatory approval, but you can see Murdoch now is spinning out much of his assets in order to focus more on publishing and some other things. So it's the biggest news so far in this very light Christmas period for news. Within, I think, the next 5 or 10 minutes, going on to Nissan and Honda now, there is a press conference that is supposed to begin, I think, at 9 a.m. our time, or if not 9:30 or 10. And we're expecting that a memorandum of understanding will actually be signed for them to move ahead with the planned deal between the two companies to merge. So that's, of course, following up on the news that we talked about when that merger was announced. And again, if everything goes through, this will be the third largest automaker globally after Toyota and Volkswagen. Volkswagen, by the way, I understand they've made a deal with the unions in Germany to avoid some factory closures. From there, I think we go to Elon Musk. He just tweeted this how many hours ago, saying the Fed is absurdly overstaffed. He's referring to the U.S. Federal Reserve. So this man is really flexing now and coming out publicly to talk about an independent central bank and saying that it is, I mean, imagine a billionaire that helped a president in a country win an election, and then he now goes on air and says that the central bank is absurdly overstaffed and needs to be cut down. Basically, he's part of DOGE, which is the Department of Government Efficiency. It will be interesting to see how this plays out going forward. I think we get to the Nigerian news now. They've talked a lot about this stampede. I'm really glad that Adefemi Akinsanya put that Guardian article up on financial inclusion because, we've been on a roll. We've had a number of ministers. Morning Show had Minister of Interior. Global Business Report had the Digital Economy and the Communications Minister. Prime Time had the Minister of Finance. Now you can catch Prime Time 8 p.m. West African time throughout the week. Here is, and I want to start with India Moga's question to the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, Coordinating Minister of the Economy, where he asked him, of course, about the impact of fuel subsidies and floating the naira on Nigerians and what the government is doing. And listen to Wale Edun's answer about financial inclusion. Let's link it to this stampede matter. Here he is.
You've talked about petroleum and Nigerians. Now, the two policies of the government, the fuel subsidy removal and the floating of the naira, have impacted negatively, I'm sure you will agree with this, on both Nigerians and then SMEs who contribute about 48% to 60% to the GDP and about 84% employment. The ordinary Nigerian on the street there will be asking you, how will this budget and all that you're saying turn this trend around and affect him or the SMEs positively?
Well, the reality is that in such macroeconomic reform, in such attempts to correct an imbalance in government spending and an unsustainable pattern of government finances, the costs come first. So initially, you do get a spike in inflation and the cost of living, as we have done. But it was His Excellency's commitment, even while campaigning, even while president-elect, not to talk of when he became president, his commitment was to ensure that he intervened to assist Nigerians through that cost of living spike, in particular the poorest and the most vulnerable. So all the sectors have been helped. Agriculture, there was release of fertilizer, there was release of food, there was release of grains, and of course, there's assistance financially by bringing more acreage under production in the agricultural sector. For the individuals, for the poorest and most vulnerable, the direct payments, which have now reached 25 million households, a series of direct payments efficiently made. As we know, at first, that all-important exercise didn't go according to plan and went back to the drawing board. And we now have a process whereby the beneficiaries on the social register that are intended to receive a series of direct payments into their accounts are uniquely and biometrically identified through being given a NIN, and they are digitally provided with the funds by a BVN through a bank account or a digital wallet. So you have a very robust system that will stand the test of time for intervening directly and helping Nigerians who, when they receive those funds, can decide what their priority is.
All right, so look, the point of that here, if you look at, we have financial inclusion stats, and I'm glad, again, on the cover of Guardian, which Adefemi touched on, with linking this to the Stampedes, instead of coming into a poverty-stricken area and dropping a bag of rice in the middle of the road where people are going to be trampling over themselves, we should reorient how we try to help the poor by trying to get them connected, right? So what I'm saying is you go somewhere and you say, you get 5, 10, 20, 30 people. Do you have bank accounts? Do you have IDs? I'll pay for you all to go get your identities there, and then you all go get bank accounts. I got my car washed yesterday, right? The person who was washing it, this is a service that was provided. Services make up 51% of our economy, higher than industries, higher than agriculture. You are seeing the financial inclusion numbers there. Look at the exclusion. Rural is 37%, urban is 17%. So you can see that the majority of Nigeria's 74% overall financial inclusion is concentrated more in urban areas than it is in rural. If you also look at formal, formal means financial services that are regulated. Informal is financial services that are not regulated. If Rufai is a person in technology and says Rotus is a poor person who lives here, Rotus, are you connected? Let me assist you in getting connected, because direct payments reduce the need to have to give commodities that you can consume, as opposed to actual payments that people can make their own decisions to go and purchase. And once you get them connected to the financial institutions, things are now much easier for them to receive these benefits. And mind you, this was an interview on Friday night before that Guardian article came out. So I don't know whether the Guardian listened to it and that's what informed their headline. But I think we need to reorient how we provide these charitable contributions to people in order to avoid if you go on this road where we're leading up to the studio now, there is traffic because of people who are at the church there who are waiting to receive these items. It's the youth out season. Let's quickly jump on travel. Very quickly, a gentleman was complaining about Air Peace delaying a flight which was caused by Harmattan haze. But what jumped out on me was him saying that they didn't accept, they didn't want to carry, they refused to carry more than 500 passengers at a time. Yeah, there it is.
We stopped here in Lagos. They promised us last night that it will be the first flight out of Lagos.
What's happening?
All other destinations, is as if refused to carry more than 500 passengers to Benin. Passengers from the last 2 days.
With Virgin ahead.
So look, and just I'm going to be very curious to see the volume of flights. The Bureau of Statistics hasn't given us stats on aviation since 2021. But look at this. There's a Punch headline. I went back to look from. This was from November. Yuletide. Air Peace gets 4 airplanes on lease. 12th, right? And we pulled out a quote from this particular article from the Punch on this on what they were forecasting in terms of demand, saying Air Peace has agreed to dry lease 4 Boeing 737-800 aircraft from Slovak to meet the high travel demand during the Yuletide period. The Punch can authoritatively report. The 737-800 cannot carry more than 150 to 160 people. So saying in a pejorative manner that Air Peace refused to carry more than 500 people is way beyond the capacity of any single craft. But just to round off, one, the airports need more infrastructure in order to deal with the Hamatan haze, and then two, interesting. Despite ticket prices being as high as they are, very interested to see the stats on the volume of travel when it's all set up.
I mean, to see the empirical fact too, but also you should factor a lot of I just got back. Those are the ones pretty much traveling. Yeah, because I mean, I traveled over the weekend and
it was a lot.
Over 80% of people in the plane with me were I just got back and in it, Nigeria.
Coming to Lagos again, right? So Lagos is still taking that on.
But the truth is, then what should be done to the Benin airport? Because apart from, the landing gears on the Benin airport and, the instruments for landing the Benin airport, if you travel into Benin a couple of times, it's a very tricky airport even on a clear weather gives a lot of pilots problems. But they should also fix their logistical problems and all of that. As regards to sale, it just shows you what Rupert has been able to build.
The Foxtel.
The Foxtel thing. Yeah. In Australia, he's been able to build a behemoth also called Fox News Australia, which is very right-wing, as usual, does a lot of work, it has a lot of big following and all of that. It's also going to sip into the ZAZM. But for me, the quibble I have is this not disrupting the DAZM model? Because the DAZM model was also supposed to be hard box, satellite television. Yeah. It was supposed to be app-based television, but now that they're disrupting their base and all of that, probably it's going to extend their services and all of that to the Australian market, but kudos to them on that. Ayo, you can try because of time.
So 2 things I want to talk about. Let me quickly touch on Musk and saying that the Fed is overstaffed. Isn't that, it just reminds me of the CBN and the issues that that's going on there recently about 1,000 staff being retrenched. And part of it, I know they invited the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Honourable Nkiwonye Georgia, to see, to the House to explain why at this hard time people are being retrenched. But the truth is that the CBN actually had put in a package, a retrenchment package for staff members, because one of the challenges is that they were overstaffed. There are people there who are doing nothing. The people there who got into the office by political, will. So I think it just highlights that it's not just in the United States or not just in Nigeria that's happening. That's happening here. Let me talk about financial inclusion. Rotus, I hear you and I think it's a fantastic idea. However, we don't have the infrastructure to support this. With what's going on in the banking sector, it's not even an encouragement for people right now to open bank accounts. I'm saying this because we have access to online banking, USSDs and all that. But when I talk about infrastructure, it's also the internet facility to support this in these rural areas. How many of them have access, if they couldn't, if you can't go to your bank, to use these services to try and transfer money or get money from elsewhere? Then we also have to look at the bank charges as well. For us, if people are earning and just counting your every little penny, if you're getting bank maintenance fee, this, you'd rather keep your money under your bed and know that the entire 1,000 naira is your entire 1,000 naira. Know that 1,000 naira at the end of the month becomes 900 or 950 naira because someone is taking money on your account. So I'm trying to say that with financial inclusion, yes, it's a fantastic idea, but the banks and the CBN must be ready to also put in measures to ensure that people's money, is safe and that you assure the people there's a trust built in the people that if I put my money in the bank, it won't disappear. I will have access to it anytime I need access to it, and that banks will be well regulated. So beyond encouraging people to open bank accounts is also to ensure that we have the infrastructure and policy to support people having enough trust in the banking system to put their money in the banks.
And I could want to say something. Yeah. Because I play a lot in the, this...
tech space.
No, the tech space and also the charitable
right.
space. Truth is, experiences are different. So Rotus, there are people that will give business support, there are people that will pay for their scholarships and things like that. There are people you do direct transfers to. But also there are people that you also do the palliative part to, the food packs, the clothes. Like the last one I did, we shared a lot of clothes, shoes for kids, toys for kids. So it's all part of the experience. I think the most important thing is the organization. What will have also been a good approach is being able to get addresses or get a proper addressing system.
Right.
So
So
just
data.
drop data
Yeah.
and drop it in their door
Sensors,
mouths,
I mean,
you
sensors
know.
as well.
I think Better Edu did say at some point that they were going to use GPS to geolocate
Alright,
and deliver
out of time. We need
palliative.
to go.
I don't know how that went. Maybe if they can give us those coordinates, probably we can use drone and also just drop these goodies in their front.
Fire.
But you know, people stay face me and face you as one person. Can say 50.
If you
and they'll
drop
snatch it.
one in front of that house,
That's just it. So
All right, we need to go.
this is what it is.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Rotus.
Thank you.